In Chapter 9 I will be laying out a technique called top-down design, which will allow you to approach your scripts in a very structured way, and it will allow you to solve each problem in its own way, which makes life a whole lot easier, especially when writing longer scripts. Now, top-down design, I wrote a little definition here. I ripped it from the internet somewhere. Complex problems can be solved using top-down design, also known as stepwise refinement, where we break the problem into parts. First we break the problem into parts, and then we break the parts into parts, and so on and so on. This will allow you to, like I said already, approach your script in a much more robust way, and it will make big problems small problems, because you will divide the big problems into small problems. In other words, with this technique you break the problem down in successively smaller parts until each problem is easy to tackle. Now, I have a lot of examples. I have about 2 examples that have nothing to do with Maya, and then we will apply our knowledge in a script that we will write. The advantages of top-down design are obviously that it makes life easier. Like I already said, it breaks the problems into parts, and it clarifies what needs to be done. It also makes sure that you keep seeing where you have to go, that you can see that you can distinguish the trees in the forest, so to speak, so you don't jump from here to there. At each step of refinement, the new parts become less complicated and therefore easier to figure out. Parts of the solution may turn out to be reusable, copying and pasting code, which we will do in a second. And breaking down the problem into parts allows more than one person to work on the solution. Okay. Now let's take a look at that with an example. Let's say that we own a home improvement company. Okay. Again, this has nothing to do with Maya, it's just an explanation of top-down design. We do painting, roofing, basement waterproofing, and so on. And it comes to our ears that a section of town has flooded. Okay, zip codes, blah blah blah, and so on. And we want to send out pamphlets to our customers in that area. That would be the problem. Then the top-down solution would be get the customer list from the file, sort the list according to the zip code, and make a new file of only the customers within that area code that has flooded, and then print envelopes and send it to each of those customers. Okay. And then you should ask yourself some more questions. Can any of these steps be broken down further? Most likely. Okay. And then you just have to ask yourself the question whether you can break down those problems into smaller pieces, because the smaller the problems are, the easier it will be to solve them. Okay. So let's look at another problem. Write a program that draws a picture of a house. We're talking here a very simple house, right? So what you have to do is you draw an outline of the house, just the outside of the house, like that, like a box with a triangle on top. Then draw the chimney, like a rectangle on there. Then draw the door. A door is another rectangle. Then draw the windows, the 2 squares next to the door. Very simple house. Just breaking down the problem step by step, and breaking down the problems into smaller problems. Then there is something that is called pseudocode. Okay, pseudocode is like English code. It's in writing in English, or whatever your language is, it doesn't really matter, step by step what you want to do in Mel. We will do this all the time, and you will see it in my codes, or in my code as well. It's just comments, okay? But the comments that will guide you through each process of the code based on that top-down design. Okay, so let's say that we have procedures, and then we go like that. Okay, we draw the procedure of the outline, then we draw the chimney, and the door, and the windows. Now, if you have a house, for example, and you have a door has a doorknob. So probably we will be able to divide that into 2 problems, mainly. One, draw the square of the door, and the other one, draw the circle of the doorknob. And we will have 2 windows, or maybe even more. That means that we can reuse that code, because the window in our very simple drawing of a house will look the same. So that is a very good example of code reuse, which we will do, like I said, in the example that we're going to make in Mel. Now, this is there were the two examples, so I hope it's a little bit clear what top-down design does. And now we're going to jump to Maya and to Mel and what we want to do. Now, I wrote a script a while ago that leans itself pretty good to explain all this. It's called All Cameras. Now, All Cameras started out as something, something that Maya can't do by default. Well, it can do it, but it's not really in the interface. It's namely that when you open Maya, by default Maya creates a front, a side, and a top orthographic cameras. Now, most of the time, or sometimes, especially when you're modeling, you also need the back, the left, and the bottom camera. Although it's pretty easy to create those, you just have to invert some values. I decided to write a little UI and with a couple of buttons, and then if you click the button, all the cameras are made immediately. Just clicking one button is enough, actually. So if we were to write the top down for that, obviously this is, how you say, there's a thousand ways of doing this, or maybe not a thousand, but there's a lot of ways of doing this. So there's no correct way to create a top-down design. Just like if somebody else would write exactly the same script, or the script with the same outline, he would use different code most likely. The important thing is that it works, and that it works fast, and that it works correctly. Okay? So again, this top-down design, there is no right and wrong. It is right, let's say, if it pushes you in the right direction, and if your code based on the top-down design works. Okay? So the first thing that we have to look at is we have to create a UI, which is the first thing that we will do. And then after that we have to create procedures. We have to create one procedure to create the back cam, one for the left cam, one for the bottom cam. And then we want obviously a procedure that combines all the camera creation procedures. And we'll just copy and paste all that stuff, so it will become very easy. So what we have to do is we just have to create one procedure, and then we have to reuse that to create the other cameras. Some finer points might be is that I want to create a checkbox that shows and hides the camera icons. Okay? So instead of, we will have 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons. So we'll have one button that creates all the cameras, and then we'll have one button for each camera, just in case the user wants to create just 1 or 2 of all those cameras. And then we'll have a checkbox that allows you to show and hide the cameras. Okay? And then we have to build in a catch. A catch is what I like to call a dummy proof, let's say. So some camera cannot be created twice. So if you have already created the left cam, it will, in our case, it will pop up a little window saying that camera already exists. Okay, I will show you how to do that, and that's it. Okay, so let's jump to Maya. I've already opened KM All Cameras, so we can take a look at what really happens, and then we'll just write it from scratch as much as possible, or we'll just write it from scratch completely, actually. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a interface, obviously. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just show you already what it looks like. And you see it's a very, very simple interface, and I'll show you what it does as well. So you can form yourself a clear idea what we're going to make. You see that now there are no cameras currently visible. If I hit this button, you can see that I get the icons of the camera, and then I can say create all, and then I have to show the cameras again, and then you see that all the cameras are created. So you have my bottom camera, and so on and so on, and you also have these buttons to create the cameras separately. Okay, you will see now, because all the cameras exist already, that if I hit that button, I get a pop-up window saying this camera already exists, and if I do that again, I will be spanked. So that is basically what we're going to do. It's a very simple thing, but it can be very handy, and it will teach us a lot about putting the dots on the E concerning what we have studied or what we have learned already. So I'll just open up Mel Studio Pro, and so the interface is pretty straightforward. We've done most of the things already. The only thing that we haven't really used is checkbox. Now checkbox is just checkbox command, and it has a flag, label flag, just as all of them, and then ONC, and OFC stands for on command and off command. Now I'll show you in a second how I came up with these commands, because show cameras and hide cameras, if you were to look that up, so hide, you can look that up, you see there is no actual command. That is because this is a procedure and it's not really a command, and it's a procedure that comes with Maya. I'll show you in a second how I did that. So we can just start writing the interface from here. There's nothing too special about it. So we'll start, let's say, create UI, and we want 4 buttons, right? One for each camera and one general, and we want 1 checkbox, and maybe we want a little bit of text inside as well, right? So we can clearly see what we are doing. So the first thing that I'm going to do again is start with my conditional, and I'm going to say if window exists, and the window, I'll just call it KM all. I have to use different names than in my other script, because otherwise I'll get conflicting names. So I'm going to say all cams UI, like so, and then I'll call my script all cams, because the one here is all cameras. Okay, good. So we can do something different, like so, and then I say delete. So if that already exists, delete UI, and you have to delete what? You have to delete this window, like so. Terminate that, get my final window, call it like that, blah, like so. I'll just make the rough UI, and then we make the refinements. Or maybe we can make some refinements already now, like for example, turn off the maximize button, so turn it off. Maybe also turn off the minimize button, NMB is that, right? Turn off the minimize button. I know I'm using short names of my flags right now, but these are flags that you use so often, or that I at least use so often, that you know it's okay to do that. Or maybe what I'll do, just to show you once more, so I'll go to window, and then I go maximize button, and I just put them in here. Okay, maximize button, like so, and the minimize button. Also keep this in mind, that copying and pasting is much more easy than typing long words such as minimize button and maximize button. Okay, so we got our window, and then we'll terminate it with show window, like so. Show window what? Which window? Well, this window. There you go, like so. And then what we need inside is we need, first of all, obviously a column layout. Now, column layout is something that we will only use in the beginning. Well, not only in the beginning, but it is the simplest of layout. So as soon as you need something more exotic, you're obviously going to jump to form layout and frame layout and things like that, which I'll explain in, on the next DVD. Very, very powerful UI tools. So the first thing that we'll start is a checkbox, right? Checkbox, and we'll call that you know, hide. Show hide box, something like that. Again, I'm giving my stuff internal names, and then I'll need a button, and I'll give that button a label and say create all. Alright, this will be the button that creates all the cameras, and I'll call that all button, like so. And we'll copy that, so, and then just put some space in between, and then create which ones are the one that we need. Let me just so I don't make any mistakes. Back, left, and bottom. So create back, let's go, left, and bottom, and then we'll call this back button. We'll call this left button, and we'll call this bottom, like so. So that is the interface. Let's see if we don't have any UI errors. There you go. Obviously we need to make some changes so it looks a bit nicer. So one of the first changes that I have to do is set my adjustable column to 1, so the buttons go there. I have to, so the buttons, you know, get stretched, or actually all the children get stretched when the window gets stretched. And then I have to put a label on this one. So this will be like show hide cams, and I have to put that in between quotation marks like so. So let's execute that again. See, yes, that looks already a bit nicer. Maybe we'll have a little text in between the create all and all the other buttons. So I'll just write text and label and then say create one, or create separately, like so. Like so, and let's execute that again. Okay, there you go. And maybe one final thing that we can do is maybe give the window a defined width and height. Okay, so let's say that this is the width and the height that we want. And to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to query the width and height of the window. So I put it in query mode, and then like so, the flag with height. Okay, so that is a flag, and just to get the full name for you, with height, like so. So I put it in query mode, and then I query the width height of this window right now, because that is the window size that I want it to be. And then I'll just, after that, I'll set it to that window size, so it will always open with the correct size. Okay, so I'll just copy that. I have to specify which window, like so. So I got 116 and 154. So I'll just put that here, minus width height, let's say 120 and 150, just to get good numbers. I'll leave this in there, but I'll comment it out because you will use that. Okay, there you go. Sometimes, and this is a little trick that I'll show you. Sometimes, because it is already in memory, the window preferences of this window that you have, even though you make changes here, it will not update correctly. What you have to do then is you have to use a command which is called window prefs, and then you can delete the window prefs of this window and start with a clean page, so to speak. So we'll look that up. Window prefs, like so. So how do you delete stuff? Well, you can just go remove here, remove a window preference. Okay, so you go -R and then you type this one here, like so. Okay, and then you execute that, and then nothing happens, but the window preferences, such as the width and the height and whether the maximize button is on and off and where to position the window, are deleted right now, and you start clean. Okay, I'll just leave that in there as well. Keep that in mind, because if you're creating Windows, sometimes it's quite frustrating that you make changes in it and they don't trickle through to the window that is actually appearing in your Maya interface. Okay, so I'll start with this checkbox. So this checkbox, we want an on command and an off command. So the on command is when we got this, and the off command is when it is off. And we want that to be that it shows and it hides the cameras. Now, you could use the hide command, but it's a bit, it's totally doable. But what I did is I took a look what happens. I'm just gonna clear my history. I take a look what happens if you go to display, show, and then cameras. Okay, you see that you can't see anything right now, just to make sure that we can see the cameras. There is nothing right now, so what do you have to do then? Well, you have to go echo all commands in your script editor. You know that echo all commands is right here. Okay, and then let's do that again. Okay, so I'm gonna go to display, show, cameras. You see that there is this really nice command here, which is show cameras. Okay, so if I were to go into an empty, so if I were to, let's say, create a new mail script, I'm gonna go show cameras, and then probably the other one is gonna be hide cameras, right? So let's say hide cameras. Ta-da! That seems to be working. Show cameras. There you go. So that works. Now what this is a procedure. How you can hack stuff like that. I will show you in the next DVD. But just again to show you that by taking a closer look at what happens in the in the script editor, you can learn a lot, and you can save a lot of time, because another way of doing that would be like selecting all cameras and then hiding each camera in that string. Okay, that is totally doable as well, but instead of going through loops again, this is a much faster solution, obviously. So we can use those both commands now. They're not commands, but we'll just call them that way. And we have to go on command and off command, right? So we'll just write the full name of the flags. So checkbox, and there is on command, and then there is off command. Off command. There you go. Off command. Copy that and paste that. And then the on command would be show. I have to make sure that it's a big letter. Show cameras. Just go that from here, like so, like so, and maybe just copy that here, like so, and then and then remove that semicolon, because my command ends here. So just to paraphrase the to get this correct, what I'm going to do, not correct, just to make it a bit nicer, I'm just going to tab that just like that, so you can clearly see that are all the flags that go with that one. The thing is, I'm not for sure right now whether I have to put this in between quotation marks. So what we'll do is I'll just check it. Okay. Now there's one more thing that you see that I have to change, is that if my cameras were already showing when the script got executed, so if it looks like that and then you execute it, you see this is confusing, because normally this means if the cameras are visible, that means that this should be ticked. Okay, so somewhere in your script, right, you should make sure that before the script gets called, before the UI gets called, you hide all the cameras. So that's totally doable. You just say hide cameras and you put it right in before your show camera. That means that when you execute it, right before it shows the window, it will show hide all cameras, and that way your little checkbox works consistently. Okay, good. So that is the interface that we want right now, and what we're going to do now is we're going to create the first procedure. I haven't poured this into a procedure. Well, actually, I could do that now. It doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to put the UI in a procedure, like so, and I'm going to call that all comms, KML cams, like so, and put it in between squiggly brackets. Okay, execute that just to make sure. Oops, we got a syntax error. Let us look for it. Aha, I forgot to write my brackets here. There you go. Okay, so now if we execute this, just to make sure, I delete that. Okay, there's my interface. Obviously these buttons are not doing anything yet. Good. So let's write that procedure to create a camera, and then we'll just duplicate it 3 times and make a little bit of changes in it. Let's start, for example, with the bottom camera. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write what I'm doing. So let's say create bottom cam. Okay, but I'm going to immediately attach a condition already to it. If bottom already exists, so don't delete. Don't create and display error message. We'll display an error message first, and then I'll show you how to create a pop-up, little pop-up window. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to use a command which is called object exists. Just look that up. There's lots of ways of doing it to check whether something exists, but object exists is the one that I'll just use here. This command simply returns true or false depending on whether an object with a given name exists. So I'm going to make sure that I name all my cameras consistently, and then before I create it, I'm going to ask Maya, does it exist? If it exists, yes, we'll display an error message then. And if it doesn't exist, well, then create it. So we just are going to create a conditional, and in that conditional, we're going to use the object exists command. Okay, and we have to make sure which one are we creating? The bottom. The syntax is as follows: the name that you want to check has to be in between quotation marks and brackets, like so. Okay, and then obviously we also have to close our brackets from the conditional, like so. And let's say if it exists, then we are going to display an error message, and that error message is going to say camera already exists. Okay, something like that. Okay, the error is just a command that displays an error message, like so. See, you can make your own error messages by writing error and then a string behind it. Now if it doesn't exist, so if this is okay, so else, so if it doesn't exist, meaning, and what we're going to do then, well, then we're going to create a camera. Now creating a camera is very easy. It's the camera command, like so, and you just give it a name, say bottom, like so. I'm having really troubles writing, and that's it. So I'll just do that, okay, and you'll see there's a little snitch here. There's a little problem. You see that although I called my camera, I told them create a camera and call it bottom, it created a camera which is called bottom 1. Now that is going to be confusing obviously for Maya. Not only it's not clean, but if object is bottom, and bottom doesn't exist, it's bottom 1 that exists. So this conditional is not really going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename it. Okay, so I'm just going to rename. I'm going to rename what? I'm going to rename bottom 1 to bottom, like so. Okay, so if I do that, there you go, that's renamed now. And then we can check if it exists. So I could, for example, object exist, like so. You see 1, that one exists. So that means that if it exists, this error message will be displayed. Now this is just creating a camera. You see that if I zoom in, oops, you see that if I zoom in, I have a camera here. Now this is not what I want. I want a bottom camera. Now there is a command which allows you to create cameras with predefined values, and that command is called set view. Okay. View set, sorry. It's called view set. View set, there you go. So if I read this here, it says this command positions a camera to one of the predefined positions. And lucky us, one of the predefined positions is bottom. Okay. So the thing is that now we have to make some changes. So because the way this command works is I go view set and then I say bottom, and then I have to put the name of the camera, this one here, like so. Okay, like so. And now this camera will be a bottom camera. Okay, you can see that my bottom camera is here right now. Okay, that's the camera that I have. This is my bottom camera. Now to make this a little bit more dynamic and cleaner, I'm gonna throw the camera creation in a variable. Okay, so I'm just gonna say I'm gonna make it a string, and I'm gonna call it bottom, like so. And actually I'm gonna make it a string array, like so. And don't forget to put it in between backticks, like that. And I'm just gonna execute that just to make sure that it happens. There you go. That is working, like so. So again, this is working. Okay. But then obviously it will be much easier for me to copy this variable, and I have to make sure that I use the first one, okay, you can see that if I execute this one here, if I execute this line, you see that my variable consists of two elements, bottom 1 and bottom shape 2. Okay, so I want the first one. Again, remember, arrays are zero based, meaning that the first element in an array is number 0. So that I'm going to set my view set. I'm going to set that camera that I just created to bottom. Okay, and then I'm going to rename that camera as well, like that. I can keep that. Okay. One thing that I still have to do is I have to make sure, because you can see that that camera, when it gets created, is visible, right? So I'm just going to say hide bottom. Make sure that I use the same way, like so. So I'm going to hide it again to stay consistent with that little tick that we have there in the interface. Okay, it says here no object matches name bottom because I didn't execute the rename command yet. If I hit that again, you'll see that my camera gets hidden. Now, the absolute last thing that I have to do in this case, I have to put all this stuff in between squiggly brackets, because all this here is actually part of the else statement. So if it exists, then say it already exists. If it doesn't exist, then you have to do all that. Okay, so let's put this through the test, and let's execute them all at the same time, like so. Hopla. Okay, there seems to be a syntax error. So we'll just have to check out where the syntax error is. Let me take a look at that. What did I do wrong? Okay, I have to put a semicolon here, like so, I think. Let's execute that again. Okay, there you go. Let's see if I have my camera. My camera is here and it's called bottom. And because it is a view set camera, because it's predefined, you see that I can also access it in my orthographic menu. And then the last thing is we have to throw this into a procedure. Global proc, and let's call create, or let's say bottom camera, bottom cam. So make sure I put my brackets, put my squiggly brackets, like so, and maybe move the else statement a little bit so it is nice and clean. There you go. And that's it for the procedure. Obviously this would be reused. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy this, so, like so, and I'm gonna say, let's say left. Okay, and then so what I just have to do is change the names. Left, change the name left. View set has to be, so I'm just gonna rename that variable as well. Left. This one has to be left 0. And then I have to take a look at the flag from the view set. If I want to take the left side, the view set flag to create a left side camera is left side, like so. And then I have to rename left 1 into, because if I create this, let's see, it's called left 1. So I have to rename left 1 into left, like so. And then I have to hide left. Okay, so that is a very good example of code reuse. I'll just enter this, see if it's working, execute that, and you can see that I get my camera here. Okay, one more time. For the, what's the last one that you have to do? We have to create the back camera. So again, back camera, I'm gonna call it back. I'm gonna call this array back, and this one has to be back. Copy that. Back. Oops, make sure I have my $sign there. Back. Back. Oops. Let's see. Back. Back. And this one has to be back 1. Okay, bottom, back. Okay, and then we have to look for the flag of the view set. What that is. Flags. Back. Haha, back. That ain't a surprise, ain't it? So back. There you go. Okay, so let's test that. Let's Just that. Okay, good. There you go. Beautiful. And then the last thing that I have to do, not really the last thing, is I have to combine all these procedures in one procedure. So I'll just write one procedure. You can call procedures within procedures. You cannot declare procedures within procedures, but you can call them. And then I'll say just all, maybe create all, like so, open the squiggly brackets, like so, and I'll just copy all these cameras in there, like so. Back cam and left cam and bottom cam. Okay, so the last one should be left. So I make sure that I terminate these commands. I'll just create a new scene so we can test this out. I'll put this into memory. I'll bring up my outliner, and there is a problem. Bottom cam. I probably haven't loaded this into memory yet. Like so. So that seems to be working. Bottom cam, left cam. I can actually load everything into memory right now. Let me create a new scene again. Let's see if it works now. Bring up my outliner. There you go. They're all there. So what I forgot is I forgot to load one of the procedures into memory, and Maya told me bottom cam doesn't exist, sir. Well, you just load it into memory then. No syntax errors. That's good. What I'll show you next is how to create a pop-up menu. Not a pop-up menu, sorry. It's a confirm dialog, it's called. Confirm dialog is this. Confirm dialog is this. Without any flags, it's just like that. It's a little window. Obviously, you can define what's the stuff you want inside with flags, obviously. So you can just go to confirm, like so, confirm dialog. And then let's take a look at the example. So yes, no one, there's some examples in here. But the flags that we are going to use is we're going to use title, the message, and then what's on the button. Okay, so how do you do that? Very easy. Let me jump back to Maya. Okay, confirm dialog. I'm just going to create some flags for it. The title will be like oops, something like that. All right, and then the next flag is the message, and that will camera already exists, like so. And then one more flag is what is on the button. So the label on the bottom will be spank me, right? Something like that. So let's take a look what that gives. Button, like so. Okay, so camera already exists. An exclamation mark there, and a couple of dots there. And then what we have to do next is we are just gonna pour this into a procedure, and then we're gonna attach that procedure to the conditional that we have everywhere. Okay, so procedure, and let's call this whatever, oops. All right, like so. Maybe 2 O's is enough, and like so. Put the squiggly brackets around it. There you go, and then put that into memory. Execute that. So what we do now is we take this procedure. Oops, bumped the microphone there, and we put that in here. Okay, oops, like that, and terminate it. That means that if I were to comment this out, okay, and then I load this into memory like so, and then I hit back cam, you see, oops, the camera already exists. Now there is nothing against keeping these two, so you get a window, a confirm window, and a error message, but then you have to make sure, because there's more than one command, that you put them in between squiggly brackets, which means now if I try to create this, you will see that that doesn't work. Anyway, so you got your camera there. It doesn't work. It does work. Okay, so it's right here. So that means you have both. If you don't want to use that, you can just comment it out. Okay, so I'll use that. I'll just comment this out. and I'll write oops here, and I'll comment this out, and I'll write oops here, like so. Make sure that I terminated this one. Okay, terminate, execute everything, just to make sure that it works. It doesn't work again, of course, because I haven't attached that stuff to my buttons. You see that if I click that button, nothing happens. So the next thing is very, very easy. Is you just have to attach it to your buttons. You attach stuff to your buttons with the command, okay, with the command flag. So create all is create all. Okay, create all button is create all, like so. Okay, you can put this in between quotation marks, but it's not really necessary. So let us check that. Like so. Let's see if that button is working now. Button is working now. I've got my cameras here. So then I just have to do the same thing with all the others. So I'll just copy bottom cam, like so. Bottom cam is this one. So command bottom cam. Put that in between quotation marks. Left cam. So I'll just go C, because we know that stands for command now, right? Left cam, like so, and command, what we got here, back cam, like so. And now that should work lovely, I hope. It's always exciting when you test your code. Okay, so let me just create a new scene. Let me see, bring up my outliner, and let's zoom out so we can see the icons, or we can see them actually. Create back, left, create bottom, see if we can try it again. Nope, cannot. Okay, and then we can show them and hide them. Okay, so that's a very simple script that, you know, shows us a little bit now our progress, what we have been able to do so far. And there you go. And there's one more chapter to go, and after that we go over to CD2.